You were a member of the hostage negotiation team. What was your part of that team?
Well, the hostage negotiation team is an entity that works in a collaboration with the SWAT team, and there's 10 members. It's a unit much like the task forces where it's not seniority based. It's something that you apply for, that you interview for, and that they do a background check on you and a hiring process for that job. Uh, and we respond to hostage barricade situations. And that, back when I did it, we also responded on search warrants in a kind of a scaled down capacity in case uh, that search warrant turned into a barricade situation. So then, when everybody would respond, then and you would start negotiations right away. It was a what we call it an extra job. So when I worked on the task force, I also worked on the negotiating team. A fantastic job. We responded to anywhere from 50 to 60 hostage barricades a year. So we kept pretty busy. The training was very intense. We went around the country for different trainings at different conferences. We put on our own conference with the FBI, which I know I'm biased, but I think it's the best conference in the country. Going from different conferences around the country, it's at Easton, at the Hilton, and it's September every year, and it's called the Midwest Crisis Negotiators Conference.
Hmm.
Anywhere from 250 to 450, 500 negotiators generally from around this part of the country, come to it, and it's a case study. It goes on for 3 days, so that's how intense our training is. The It's much like you see in the movies, I would say, except that negotiators, the hostage barricade situations are run by the tactical team and the tactical commanders. Uh, but we work together, and you have a primary negotiator, which is basically picked when you arrive at scene. It used to be when I first started that generally the first negotiator on scene would be the primary negotiator because he or she is or was more they started gathering information and intelligence sooner, so they knew what was going on, and
Okay.
it would probably be the best to be the primary. So we all rushed to be the first one there because
Oh, yeah,
that's what we signed up to do
of course.
is to be that. But later on, as technology and we got better equipment, the first assignment was to get the command bus out there, which everything operated off of, and then um, you were assigned different positions by the team leader.
Right.
So you would have a group of negotiators gather intelligence, which would then be relayed and used by the tactical team. So if say you were holding your family hostage inside your house, I want to know everything about you. I want to know all your social media sites. I want to know your first, middle, last name. I want to know who your girlfriends were. I want to know where you went to high school. I want to know your favorite sports team. I want to know who people you hate, what's going to set you off. Like, say your ex-wife, she's not there. If I mention her name, is that going to get you fired up? Okay, there's different, how am I going to go about talking to you
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to negotiate with you to resolve the situation safely? I want to know who's in there. I want to know their names and what their favorite things are. So that's very comprehensive, and you need a group of good people to be able to gather that intelligence.
Right.
So you have several negotiators working on that. You have your team leader, that's the conduit or the connection to the tactical team, because you as a negotiator don't want to know what the tactical team's doing, because that influences your negotiating, right? I
Okay.
don't if you're told to move, uh, say for instance, I was a primary negotiator at one time, and I was asked to try to get the suspect to light a cigarette, to smoke a cigarette. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why? That's not for me to discern. I just do it. So my goal now is, hey, to get him to light a cigarette.
Right.
Now, I did, and the tactical team was able to make entry and apprehend him. Now, I didn't realize that every time that he smoked a cigarette, he would sit down and put his weapon down and calm down.
Okay.
Now, I knew he was calming down because I was talking to him, but I didn't realize he was sitting down or that he was putting his weapon down. So now he's not on guard as much. That gave the tactical team a chance to enter the room. So all those things come into play. You have just like you see on TV, you have a secondary negotiator that's passing you notes, because the adrenaline dump and the anxiety that takes place when you're on that phone with somebody is pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
And then you immediately fall into your training mode, right? So there's certain things that you look at, the skills of a negotiator to be able to talk to somebody. But you might miss something. So your secondary, they're listening to the same conversation you have. You have your headphones on, so you might miss something. They're going to write something down and pass it on to you.
Okay.
You might want to, right? So, so it's a team effort. Everything's a team effort. No matter if you're successful in your negotiation, it's not you. Okay, it's your team.
So you have just fulfilled throughout all parts of that team as part of negotiating, right? You've done primary negotiations, and I don't know what else. I mean, you gathered intel, so you've done.
I've done it all. I've done it all, and I tell you, I've been on over 300 hostage barricade incidents, and I probably was only the primary negotiator, I'd say, about a dozen times.
Yeah.
And a lot of that reason is because I live closest to the SWAT building.
Oh, yeah.
So I got tasked with driving the bus out a lot. So, and the person that drove the bus out was now in charge of setting up the computer systems. So you have a scribe, because everything that is said is recorded and documented, and then you debrief, which is a huge part of police work, is debriefing. We at one time we would sit down with the suspect after he was incarcerated or wherever he was taken and debrief him. And the questions we would ask would be, we want to learn about him or her, right?
Yeah.
We also want to, how could we do better? What did I say that pissed you off? What did I say that made you calm down? What did I say that made you finally come out? What did I say that made you not come out, so our tactical team had to go in and get you eventually, right?
Right.
So that's how you learn. And then you also debrief as a group, hey, Shannon, you're an idiot. What you said was totally off the wall. Why did you say that? You should have said this. And then I would explain why I said it, right? So we all learn from it, because we're all make mistakes. That's how you get better. So, and then we would use that as case studies later on, but then you also send a detailed report to the FBI for statistical purposes after every hostage barricade situation. So, yeah, it was that team was fantastic. It was unbelievable to be a part of that team.
How long were you on that team for?
6 years.